The recording has started. This is November 26th, 2024. Today's training will be on settings, going over some of the things that you can do, some of the things that help to connect some of the configuration of some other things, like one example being emails. How you have things configured into some of these settings will help with when you display some of the email settings and content in those options, right? Or how they display on your group page. So all of those are going to be some different types of things that we will kind of go over. It probably may not be a full-on hour training, just because there is not as much content to this training, this specific tile, as there is with the other ones. And this will be the last training of this semester of fall, before we jump into the spring semester. And I do just want to make it clear to anyone watching that we will have, we already have 8 scheduled trainings already set up in WolfPack Connect, under the ELT page. And just sign up and register for one. It would register you to the next one if you would do that, and just be a nice, good, helpful reminder just to check them out and be able to complete some of the stuff on the incentive program. And so, yeah, just as lastly, before we jump into it, anything that we go over today, just remember that you're checking the club guide and that you're filling out the officer workshop reflection form. You need to have 2 of those filled out to be able to fulfill the requirements for the incentive program for that specific section in there. So if you've already watched one training or been to one training, yeah, then you just got this last one to do, but make sure you fill out the officer workshop reflection form, as that will give you the credit. Just watching the video alone does not do it. I've had a couple of questions on that, and so I just want to make sure that I'm not losing anyone for that. So as I just get myself set up here quickly, and there we go, and I will share my screen here, and that should be good. I'll move this off to the side, and then also I will, so I'm about to do here right now, just because it may not make any sense. As the admin, I have a second account as my student account, quote unquote, my student account. And I use that for testing and being able to demonstrate things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to impersonate that account right now, which basically would show the view of whatever my permission levels and settings would be in that account, which in this case, I am an officer of the test group club, which is the club that is used for testing purposes. So I have officer permissions as this Sean Green, and so I'm going to be going through the training in that viewpoint, because that is going to be exactly the viewpoint that you will be seeing as an officer. My settings I have a little bit more, and so I want to make it as realistic and as possible. So let me just impersonate here. And I will also just zoom in a little bit, just hopefully making sure that it is you're able to see this. So okay, so here we go. As any of you who would be using the platform at this point, you're most likely always going to start at this home screen, and what I would always say to you from here is to go to your specific club, and I have my club here. I always tell everyone to obviously start as well, so we'll just start that, and we will open that up. I will just want to quickly say, it'll always show you the most recent clubs, right? But the only ones that that you have access to as an officer, as somebody who has higher permissions to be able to make settings, is if you have this little cog wheel, right next to it on the right-hand side. When you see it, something like that, that tells you, hey, that I'm an officer of that. I have some higher level permissions to make changes, as opposed to these ones where, I don't have that, right? So it's just a quick little helpful tip to uh, kind of help you identify something like that very quickly. All right, so we are in the test group club right now at the main dashboard screen that any officer would see when they click on their club. And so from here today, I've already been at the settings tile recently, so it's up in that recently section. But if not, you would find it down in the more section, probably a little bit down further in the options. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and click on the settings tab tile, I should say. I want to make sure I'm using consistency here. And so this is what it looks like, right? So you're going to have a bunch of these tile options. It doesn't let me select those, but a bunch of these tile options across the top. We're going to go through them. Some of them don't have any relevancy to us because of how we have some of our settings and policies set up for this platform. They just, none of them, a couple of them just don't have any relevancy to us. But we'll go through each one of them and I'll kind of go through each down here. And so we start off with the basics tab. And you're going to see right away a couple things like these. And again, hopefully, I'm zooming in enough, but you're going to see some of these read-only things right here. If you try clicking on those, I'll just bring up a thing that says that you got to contact me because they're not editable. They're not editable sections. They're lockdown sections. And in this instance, and you're only going to find very few of those, right? But in this section, right, you're seeing it because this is what you had to put in upon creating the initial club, right? So some of these are like the foundational things that the system uses for a lot of background, the back ends, like automation process. And so like some of these got changed, for example, it could cause some big issues potentially. And so we try to make sure that uh, we do not change them for barely any reason except for times like re-registration when you have that opportunity to make changes because we're starting a brand new year and so nothing with the automation has been put into effect yet, and so it just makes a great opportunity to be able to make some changes. So if there are changes though, say hey, you decided to switch the category of what your club is, stuff like that. You know, uh, you contact me. We'll talk about it, and I'll work with you, and we can find some solutions here. So. The group name, group type, categories, and group acronym, all locked down, um, and you don't really have any settings ability to change those right now. But you go down to the next section here with branding, and this is where you start to have those options again. So your logo, right? If you have a logo, great. If you don't, that's all right too. But obviously, logos can be helpful in a lot of ways. I will bring over another screen right now and just show like, hey, Aviation Club. I'm looking at the group leaderboard right now on this other screen, but you can see that they have a logo. So does the Interior Design Alliance, as College Democrats. It helps to brand you, and it really could help. It can really be a big defining thing that would allow a member to potentially join, or a student, I should say, to potentially join. So I wouldn't knock it out of the park if you're on the fence. I would say, yeah, definitely do it. You can even reach out to any the ELT members, and we can try to help you with creating a logo if you're interested in that. But it's important, right? So there was that, right? And then a group cover photo that would just display on they display kind of in the background here. So I don't really have one of those set up right now, but under the oops, I should say I went backwards. So if we were looking at the test group club, this is where you would see that right underneath here, right? So that's where you'd find that. The mission, right? So again, this is stuff that you were updating and or originally putting down at the very beginning when you created the club. These things you can change them because and there isn't anything as big as heavily tied like the acronym of the group or the group name or its category. So things like the mission. So as you see right here, it shows what our mission is, a little fun and silly, as well as our membership benefits, and as well as our goal. So as you can see, none of these are mandatory things, but definitely want to, I'll show you in a second why it can help you get members or help a student who does not know as much about your club and would like to. It can be beneficial to maybe have some of this stuff actually added in and really populated, right? So I'll show you in a second what that really would look like, right? And then I want to get down to the Constitution. Um, in this instance, because this is a test group club, does not have a bylaw/constitution, but every club will need to have this. This is going to be if in the re-registration, it wasn't set as a mandatory thing, but moving forward, all clubs must have some sort of governing documents. I would be making that a requirement, and so yeah, this is where you would either have something that would list right here that next to the upload button that would show that you have something, or you were and if you didn't have anything, hopefully that isn't the case, because we would have had a talk, but where you can upload, or if say you wanted to modify your bylaws and make changes and put the new one in, this is where you do that, right? And so I'm going to just take a quick second here because I'm going to show you what these things now look like, right? Because from two different viewpoints, right? So this tab that I've opened up is a incognito window. So it does it you can think of this as the complete if somebody who didn't have any access to the club was looking at and trying to view what the test group club was about, this is what they would see, right? So um in this instance, right? So check this out. Uh, the mission, right? When I showed you that a second ago, you click on the mission, and that it shows you down here, oops, what that information really had to say. So, or the membership benefits, the same thing that I just showed you, uh, as well, right? That also is displaying, right? And so, you're seeing, why that might be important to show and explain that to your club, right? Or to people who want to join your club. So there's that, right? And then I also wanted to show you then what it would look like on the side of inside the group, right? So this information is also viewable to our club members once they're a part of the group. If I was just to go back and actually, if I was just to go over to the group page right now, right? So this is going to show you, this is what any regular general member of your club will go to if they were to click on uh, any your club or any club where they just are a member. They would go to the group page or the about page. Depending on it, you can change it to go to the about page instead of just going to the default group page. But really, what you're seeing here, though, is some of the stuff that I just said. The mission shows up. Also shows you some of the category information, right? Those benefits, the goals, right? And some contact information. These points, I want to just make it clear, these are points are over the span of the lifetime, so they're not current points for incentives. Always check the club incentive leaderboard for that, which you can find on the homepage. But yeah, you can see, remember, the stuff is right here, but it's also right here too. It's also got the tagline, that's a thing that you can add on there. And subgroups any badges that were won, social links, all these things I'm going to show you some more about now when we go back into the settings here, right? Because you're going to be like, okay, I see some of these things here, but how did you find how did these other bits connect, right? So that said, you know, we see this bit of information right here. And I want to also just quickly then show, before I finish the rest of what's in basics, right, that contact information. That contact information, like you saw with the email address, the address of, in this instance, there really wouldn't be one other than a college, I guess. Maybe if you were a specific, like a nursing club that was at a specific campus, like say Watertown, maybe that would make more sense to be relevant and specific to saying what the address was there. But website, if you had a website, as you can see, it wanted to fill in NSLS. So, for when I was helping to do the NSLS advising, we put this website down so members of the group in Wolfpack Connect could see what the NSLS website for Madison College looked like, right? So if you have a website, cool. That is different from the website that's provided in Wolfpack Connect. That's great. The Clarion, for example, they would list down their website here, right? The Clarion, because they have a website that's different from the one that is provided to them by Wolfpack Connect. But this information, like I said, obviously shows up. Let's be able to find a way I can show this a little bit better. I'll try doing it like this. It shows up like so in the group page, right? So you see, like, yeah, what I put down here is what's popping up, right? And this information is going to be important as well because when you want to be able to put down, if you want to send emails on behalf of the club, instead of sending them on behalf of yourself personally, this is where you put down that group email address to make sure that it has an option to send as something other than you. So, very important right here to have that down if you want to do that, right? As well, and I also just wanted to quickly come back over here and show that um, social links, right? There was a social links tab, right? If we had any social links, for the test group club, which we don't, right? That would also be over here. I'll go into that in a second just to show you. But yeah, that's not, ELT does that, for example, with their YouTube videos. We have a YouTube channel, and so we put our YouTube link in there, and then that will pop up right here under our social links so that our members can be able to quickly see and access that. So back to the basics though. Um, so yeah, to finish it up a little bit, we have some other settings. Now I'm gonna just kind of uh, preface this with saying some of these things you most likely will have access to, but it's very, I would say some of them you want to make sure you're talking with me first because one, some of these should not be changed if you're a club because it takes away, like I will say, for example, if you are no longer wanting to uh, be a club, right? That's something you talk to me about. And then so when you hit no on I will you'll never really have to go and click on no for publish, right? Because I would just be deactivating the club if that was the case. And so that's not a thing, right? In most cases, in pretty much every case, the test group club uses these things to hide itself from the rest of the clubs because we don't need um, general students to it's a testing club, right? It has no relevancy to them. And and so we don't need to be displaying it. So we hide it from the groups list generally, but to be able to share and demonstrate some of these settings today, I have unhidden it. But yes, do not hide your group in do not have that selected yes. If I see that, I will go back and select it to yes. If you are a registered club, you should be displaying yourself, uh, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be. So I will um, go ahead and making sure that that is set back to yes if I see that, right? So just something to keep in mind of closed membership. We also close our membership for the test group club because we don't need to be we don't want to be allowing anybody else to join unless if I'm allowing them to join for testing purposes. But some clubs do use this, right? So if you're an academic club and you are specific to, the nursing, if you're in the nursing program, and then you would be a part of the nursing club. If you're, what was another one? There are other ones for like automotives, and there are, I just saw another one that was for fitness, recreation, and wellness. If you're not part of that academic program, you would not be a part of that club. And so those memberships for those clubs are locked down because um, the clubs are academic and specific to the programs that they're in. And so any general student can't just become a general member. So all of anyone who's added to that club would have to be done either by the club advisor or the club officers, or me if I was asked to do so, on behalf of the leadership of the club. So that's a reason why that you would have an option for like that for either yes or no. After the end of today, I'm going to be checking that back to yes for this group, for the test group club, but um, the only reasoning that I've seen as a good example is the academic clubs. And then deactivate group page. Again, I would say do not activate your group page under any circumstances that will start to be the downfall of the group. I look at that as the start of the group no longer being a group in the platform, and therefore no longer being a group, a part of a registered and official group, part of Madison College as a student club. So I also say don't do it because it will probably start to have some technical issues with how pages are loading or viewing, or response times. Um, I'd say please do not, for the sake of yourself and mine, mess with those settings and potentially cause some problem that um, can be a lot worse. So really the big thing from the basic settings at the very bottom of this one is closed membership. And that's really the only big one that you should really be getting out of this. But again, I want to show you everything so you're seeing everything. So make sure that if you make any changes to any of if I made a change in the basics here, I'm saving before I move on to the next tab, because again, if you don't, you will lose the changes that you made, or the additions. So we can go over the contact info. Like I said, we self-explanatory. Already kind of went over this though already. I just showed you what it does in terms of showing up on all of this and where it can be useful. You know, on that sense, right? So nothing other than that. But I always think that the more information, the better. This is obviously a closed platform community, so no one that shouldn't be in here is in here, and it's meant for students, specifically and solely meant for students. So the more information that you provide, it just helps other students be able to connect and find you. So it's a good thing to be putting as much information as your club leadership feels comfortable with. So moving on with access and privacy. So there's going to be a lot more here, right? That we are going to be able to see. One thing, and starting from the top, and I will say this is also an academic club thing that I'm seeing a lot more of. And I kind of displayed it a second ago when I showed it from the exterior side perspective, is the sign up instructions and then the sign up secret word options, right? So I will show it again what my side shows, right? So as you can see, if since I've unhidden myself from the list, right? If I wanted someone to be able to join, I have a thing here that is basically it's a deterrent in a lot of cases, but it specifically only allows for specific um, individuals who are meant to join the club, right? So, I've seen this with academic clubs using this, especially with nursing. But yeah, so if you know, like you see on my side, I have bubble as the thing, and I have kind of a thing, a little bit of an instruction thing as to what to do exactly, right? And then you can see it on your side here, what it would look like when I actually have it on the outside, what people would see. And so I put in obviously that bubble, right? And then I would hit join, and then from there, that would basically, it would not immediately let me in and let me join. It would still have to have some checks and balances, have to be validated, all of that, but it would still send a notification to the student leadership to say, hey, we have somebody who potentially should be in this group or club based off of the fact that they are able to accurately identify the password that they need to get into to the club. So just keep that in mind. And It could be used maybe for other reasons. Who knows, right? I mean, there could be a lot more other reasons. We just right now that's kind of what we see is the big reason, right? That's that, right? That this part auto validation. So by default, no one is automatically added as a member of any group or entity by default, right? What they have to by default do is be validated, um, so that they are so that the membership, or I should say the leadership of the club, can make that determination if the individual or the student should be a part of the club. Um, Now, most times there should be no reason why you wouldn't want to validate a member. I may not have a great example of this to show, but essentially, if I was to kind of go in here, and I'm not allowed to manage. That's actually kind of funny because I did do that setting here. I will stop impersonating myself for 1 second so I can show it. I was doing another test for some other things, and that's why it's that's why it's doing it like that. Let's try to maybe. Let's do active minds because I know that might be a good one to do, right? So let's see. No, we don't have anything on that one either. Um, let's also maybe do chess club and do members. Nope, nothing on that either. So basically what I'm looking for here is a little thing that is above the current members that just says members pending X amount of members pending validation, which basically then allows any officer of the club, to click on that link, and then to be able to validate. There'd be a little checkbox down here, and then they could validate each specific student or individual who wants to try to join. So it's kind of it's a two-step process. You click on join a group, and then they have to validate you, right? Now, that said, and I do have to just go back here, I will explain what you're seeing now, now that you kind of have a little bit more understanding, if you didn't, about what the validation feature was, and then what it means in terms of the settings in the settings tile, right? So in the tile, right, when we go back to access and privacy and we have the auto validation, everybody would be like everyone would be set to nobody is auto validated. Now, I I'm not, and I don't think anyone in ELT is. I'm not saying I don't think. I'm saying nobody in ELT is here to tell you what to do on this, right? Again, this is a closed community, and there are very heavily enforced security lockdowns to make sure that nobody without a Madison College email has access to be able to get in the platform, and any guests who are able to get in the platform are locked down to not be able to actually do anything other than to register to an event. So it is very heavily secured. And so that I want to kind of lead it off by saying that in terms of yes, if you wanted to do everyone is auto validated, there are sometimes reasons why that could be very useful. If we have the shuttle, the shuttle service, for example, is set that way so anybody can just join the shuttle service and be automatically validated, and so there doesn't need to be any intervention with having an officer of the shuttles group actually validate members. They're just automatically validated if they hit join, if a student or an individual hits join. That works great for that instance. It depends on what you want to use it for, and I'm just trying to make it clear though that if you set it to anything other than um, nobody is auto validated, you're going to get some different behaviors than you usually would, right? Everyone being auto validated would immediately allow anyone to join your group. And so if you're trying to have things more locked down for your group settings, that would be lessening that security and restriction settings for the group, not for the platform, but for the group. Obviously, uh, like I just said, because anyone who has a madisoncollege.edu email, a student that is enrolled into classes has access to this platform, and guests only have access to register to events. Um, you could set it to people from the same college or validated, and it's going to do the same exact thing as everyone is auto validated, right? Because again, we already have global security settings enabled. So these are kind of lesser, not, these are just more for the group settings. So, and again, people, the same account types. I don't see any reason why that would be a good thing to do that. That just limits people's ability. Most of the people on here are students anyway. The very limited amount of staff accounts are only there for specific purposes um, for being club advisors or support for the platform and to make this a better environment. So just something to think about. People from the same college or with the same account type. Again, I think that's a redundant option. So really, again, I would just say it's your club's choice on how you want to do that. But I just and then here are some additional things as well to that, right? So you can also, if again, there are global settings added here, but you could specifically say, hey, I only want students to be R validated if whatever that may be, right? This also is a same thing to that as well, because you're saying you're saying .edu, same university, so we're using the same domain name of madisoncollege.edu, um, things of that nature. And they're all really going to do nothing different here because we already have those global settings. But want to show you anyway. Members cannot leave. That is a setting that is not does not changeable. As you can see, as an officer, contact me if there was a reason why you need to change that. Parent group, we have not really explored or had something like this, but essentially you could have be a parent group or parent club or something, and maybe have an offshoot of that, and you could then select that as the parent group, right? As you can see right now, here's all these different options of every club that we've got, right? But really, um, none of these could really fall into that. One is a parent group of another. If I create a test group two, I could maybe say test group two is the parent group of test group two is test group club, right? But we really just don't haven't explored into it any further. There, I have some uh, things coming up where I will be, and I'm excited, and I will share more when we have that. And again, this would also show up here to display more information, right? So if I took this off of the test group club and just show kind of scroll down, we're gonna have some things where it's going to show more of that, right? Um, Coming up very shortly. So here's one with the fitness recreation when they were using the group password. Reload all of those and start scrolling down. We're gonna see so um other things, Interior Design Alliance, that's for the interior design program, right? They have Lockdown, if that's an academic club. Um, I know we have one coming up here. It just takes a second to get to it here. So, here's something that is the more information, an example of that, right? So Student Nurses Association right here, using that, and it just kind of explains more information. And that's what that setting really that is. Members can see each other. Well, yes, you would want to, I would think. But you could always set to no, so anyone inside the group can't see each other. And then membership should be private. This is how it would show up on somebody's profile. So on my profile, if I was to click, it would be showing up on like what is he a part of, right? If he is he a member of? If I had by setting that to yes, right? Obviously I'm seeing it as an officer because I have an officer. I have a little bit more visibility settings, but yes, in general membership that would be set to private. So there's that thing to think about. And then moving over into um, again membership, you can select and set the we just saw it a second ago in a different club that showed, I think it was electronics club, showed a specific duration or something like that. And that is a good example of um, showing what, here we go, Electronics Club 1 year. Um, it, this is kind of up in the air as to how you want to choose to do this, right? Because essentially you could set an expiration date on that, and then that could help to keep the roster updated. And then but it also might mean that you would have to do a lot more outreach with figuring out who your membership is. Right now, we don't have that set or configured, but if that was, these settings about being able to send a membership expiration notification, that would just notify the member, a little blue message up top that says, "Hey, this is So in this instance, here's my custom message: your membership is about to expire. Thank you for being a member of our club." Right? How many days before that expiration? You're right. So, and again, enter the number of days before the expiration date. Right? So I could, say 365, that's a year membership, right? So it really depends on how you and your leadership of your club want to deal with that. Um, and then moving on, membership privacy. That is one setting that I do not fully have enough knowledge about why it would say that exactly. I thought about this a little bit before the training. Uh, Obviously, it has the same sort of things that I demonstrated and showed in the events that you would see. But I don't really think membership privacy, when I read that, that tells me the same thing as, can members be able to basically view each other, or membership should be private, right? So something I have to look more into, honestly. But but membership default duration. Yeah, you can also select a specific time, or you can select at 12 months. It really depends on what you want to do. And then yeah, you'll have if you did that, you would have something that would look like this, right? Um, so just something to think about. Um, and then we're going to go over the payments. And as you can see, hey, there's nothing there. That's because we don't really utilize this platform for payments. So nothing would be there. The social networks, again, I kind of talked a little bit about this, right? But yeah, if you have information, stuff that you could put down, right? So that's my asking 7 SM Green 7. That's my Twitter handle. So like, yeah, I could if I wanted to put down twitter.com or our group SM Green 7, that would technically be do the same thing. I guess it should be changed to X when I think about that. LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. I don't really know. Depending on if your club has social media outside of Wolfpack Connect or outside of Madison College's like community circle, if I'm just gonna call it like that. Yeah, this is when you would put stuff. Again, I put ELT has, and the video of what we're doing right now today will be uploaded very shortly after this and put up onto the YouTube page and displayed, and then any member of ELT can click on the YouTube link on the group page where I showed and be able to do that. So it just depends on if you have any social media, social network stuff to add, right? And then as we kind of move on to the last bits here, right? So this really depends on when you start and do the onboarding. When you log into this platform for the first time, it will ask you a series of like 5 different main pages of things, very quick things. And those things ask you, some of those are about interests and other things uh, that you find relevant to your life and things that you like to do and enjoy doing or want to do for your future career or what have you, whatever it may be, right? And so that on that end, and then the end of the group settings here under the recommendation settings, like if I had everything else unchecked right now but chess, and then I would say the chess club, right? And then somebody else that a student who's logging into the platform and is like want adding that they like chess or that they like board games, right? The two would find actually connect to each other, and you would get more relevant content about suggested groups on the main page when you were to if I was just to go back here, if I was to, you're going to see on here, it's going to say upcoming events, suggested groups, right? You would see more relevancy to that uh, chess club, right? If you only had specifically that one chess option, like, yeah, that's what I find interesting, right? Um, Now, there was obviously it's a lot more intricate and has a lot more complexity to it. But yes, basically, it's a way to help. Um, I There is a level of AI supposedly to it. That helps to combine and link the interests between the user and users and the groups. Um, there more relevancy. You would have more relevancy for something that you may be find interesting. You're going to find it more relevancy to it on your suggested groups, or you're going to find it as a reoccurring thing on your suggested groups. Now, has that do I always I sometimes I don't always find it as the pattern or the relevancy and how it actually works. Um, but It does in theory have some baseline. So I would say the more information that you put down, that you can find to link it to, the more that you're going to have potentially suggested users, right? And students who are not currently members of your club find their way to you potentially. So it's always good to just, yeah, be, again, just like I said with the contact information, be as specific as possible and make sure. So obviously with my testing in this group, right, I just started selecting a bunch of them. But there's a lot of different options. Some of them might be, important for the industry side, but some of them might just be sports, and some of them just might be different interests in things to do, trends, what have you. So, again, I always encourage and recommend as much information as your student leadership is comfortable providing is the best way to get more membership. And then last but not least, I guess we are going to kind of hit this at an hour, so not so bad. Um, we are come to the last tab right here, which is um, I'm going to call it your admin tab because it gives you a little bit more additional options to see things. One thing here is if you have a new member join the group anytime, you can have send an automatic email sent to them, right? So I know, for example, the student organization PTK does this, right? You join the organization on Wolfpack Connect, you will get a welcome email sent to you, which just says, hello, thanks. We're so happy that you're joining us. Here are these resources here that you can visit, or content here that you can re inform yourself with or be knowledgeable about. Et cetera, et cetera. I also have one for the test group club. It's the welcome email that says basically a lot of the same thing. Welcome to the test group club. Um, thanks for joining us. Let us know if you have anything, if have any questions, whatever, and check the group page for more information or whatever. And and it's pretty cool because every time you get a new member, it'll send that out. You do have to put some groundwork into it. What do I mean by that? You have to obviously set up an email in here, right? And that's how you would have it end up um, having that as an option. So I created a welcome email right here, right? That just shows, and I think let's see if yeah, so again, it just shows, welcome to the test group club. So it even has a little bit mail merge thing on there, so that it also I also have included, I did create a bylaws at one point for this, so group, but it would include the bylaws, just important relevant stuff. But um and so, yeah, you have to make that ahead of time, right? Now, let's say, look at my emails, videos, to get some more information on how to build emails, build templates like this and stuff. But yeah, essentially, when you can have something like that, you create something like that, and then you can select that as one that would always go out to new members, right? Going down to the forum, right? So um, there are an op depends on the group, right? I'm going to say it like this. I have seen some groups really utilize this feature about having some sort of internal club conversation and communication lines, right? And it's really cool to see, but some clubs already have a different way of wanting to communicate to each other. You don't really or don't really feel that this way of communicating is necessary, and that's fine. I'm not here to tell you what is right or what is wrong, but it we do provide it as part of the service of being on the platform as a nice little option to be able to communicate, right? So I'm going to kind of show you what that looks like. You go to the group page, right? And I have got the form. It's kind of hidden off to the side for a moment, but um, as you can see, I named it TGC Chit Chat, which when I go back, you'll see that that's an option that I can change how it shows up like that. There's two discussions in here, right? And then I posted a couple of things. What day of the week do you like? Or what's your favorite fruit? Or you can sort them by are they general things or are they questions? Or like maybe you would have a specific thing with general questions for the club, or you could have maybe bylaws questions or something like that, or and then you can have you can have the specifics of, hey, I think that I read the bylaws of our club like this. Am I reading and interpreting that correctly, or is it supposed to be more interpreted like this instead? Or could you give your ideas or thoughts on this? And then, and so as you can see, what day of the week do you like the most? And I had, um, uh, okay, well, that's a weird little glitch. I had, I posted, I like them all equally, like, but then another example of this is, I had Elijah, an ELT member. He posted, "Hey, I like making a almost an inappropriate joke, but funny nonetheless." And then yeah, so you can do a lot. You can even follow it how so that you can be notified if there are new things that get posted. Um, and when you go back, oops, when we go back here to these options, right? Um, Again, you saw that I named it Chit Chat. You can name it anything. I think it's just called the forum as the default thing. Prevent members from posts. You can do that if you want. You can, if that's perfectly a thing that it can be done, right? Allow users to see the forum. You can hide it. So if you don't feel like this is a good way to communicate with your membership, you can just hide it, and it won't be there it won't be there anymore, right? So that's another option. Uh, this is you could select this so anyone who, um, I could select this to say like, hey, I'll always get notifications. So if you had somebody who was maybe like your communication person or um, somebody who was supposed to be monitoring this, maybe a moderator or something, they could be listed in here so they would always get notifications if someone made a post. Um, then moving on down, for the email, you could always, anytime you send an email out, right, you could always have it default CC or default do a blind carbon copy, right? So, let's just say, you wanted to, let's say you were sending this out on behalf of you or something, and you needed to just, wanted to make sure that you had your advisor always CC'd or BCC'd, you could just put their email down right here. And you could also put down the subject, right? Like as well. And then this is just posting down notifications for what things that might have happened in your group after each post, right? So on that feed, and when I say that feed, I'm talking about your actual as you can see, it does that. I'm talking about your actual personal feed. So, see if we can go here. Um, yeah, it's gonna give me a little bit of prime because technically I'm not a member of that. But your feed, right? So your feed is definitely gonna be right here. So if you have posts going on to your personal feed, right? You can have it set up so that you get a notification after each one. Um, as you can see, it does not send email. It sends a chat message, right? Or you can send an email as like thing that has a bunch of content of everything, and you can have a little subject line or feed post after 24 hours, um, what have you, and then a little intro um, and then that'll tell you everything that's been going on in your feed, right? So, um, and then the activity within your group. And then we go down to the more, and so allow non-members to submit events. Um, I would obviously always have that selected to know, but again, there's no reason why you need to select it to yes. You're not allowing you can't, no one is in the platform otherwise. I've said this like a few different times already, so let's just leave that to no. um default event privacy. I you can you can make changes to this, right? I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told you about the other one under basics, right? You're gonna cause yourself potentially a lot more headache when things don't start working, and then I'm gonna have to try figuring them out. So I'd say be careful and really you should just talk with me if you're planning on doing this, because this is gonna every time your group creates an event, it's basically going to whatever you set this to, it's going to make a global setting for your group's privacy settings. And so just I would leave it alone, but again, reach out to me if you feel like you need to change it. We don't use the Strive feature, so that's not something that you would have to worry about. Automatically add members as attendees if you have somebody who goes to your event. And I'm saying non-guest related, right? Because again, guest accounts won't have access to things like being a member of anything or being able to post on anything, and they only can do is just register and see the event, go to the event, right? It's very limited. So any say you have your Jack or whatever, a student who went to my test group club event, right? Um, Add him as a member of the club if you went to that event. That could be a that could be a great tool to use to pick up membership. It also could be that if they don't really want to join the club, but they were just checking something out, it could also not be helpful at all. It really depends on what you and your club leadership want to do with that, right? So just think about that and then move on down to this is if we really don't have this enabled right now, but this is if there was a custom a field, like some custom tag or like informational box that you had to fill in, like what's your favorite color? We could, like have, this is the second part of that option, which basically gives instructions to that custom field. So that requires a multiple process setup, and we're not really utilizing any of that right now. So you can just disregard that. And then last but not least, your custom unsubscribe message. So you are sending email messages out to your membership or potential new membership. Everyone has a footer at the bottom that they can that they will have and that they can customize. And one of the things is going to be an option for um, unsubscribing, right? And so you can customize this any way that the message itself. Um, just make sure that you have that specific, it's specifically showing up like this, unsubscribe in those two brackets, because those are that's the widget for the unsubscribe option, which is how it would show up. If you don't have that, it's not going to show up correctly. But yeah, that's basically what that is. And then that gives you an option to, on that footer, that widget's going to be a part of that footer. And then you can click on unsubscribe if somebody wanted to, right? So in summarize this all up, this is everything in a neat little nutshell. And I will I'll hit leave right now, and then I will just check open this back up, maximize meeting window, and check to see any questions. And I know, Barbara, you've been hanging out in here this entire time. Do you have any questions or anything that um, you just wanted some more information on before I kind of I left the ended this meeting for this training for today? Cool, cool. Sounds like you good. So awesome. So again, make sure that anyone who watches this fills out the officer workshop reflection form so that they can get the incentive points credits. And right besides that, I hope that this was useful. Let me know if you run into anything or have any more questions later on down the road, and I will be happy to sit down and provide some one-on-ones. But other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the spring, I will see you later. Bye bye.